Welcome to the CDG BizCast. I'm your host, Christian Gonzalez, co-owner of Creativity Design Group, a digital marketing firm in Houston, Texas. Joining me today for the first time on the CDG BizCast is Mr. Doug Winnie. Doug has ranked as the #1 business coach in Houston, in Texas, and the USA, and has owned many successful businesses over the years. Today, we are going to learn how he became the great success he is today. Please welcome Doug Winnie of ActionCoach. Thank you for joining me, Doug. Welcome to the CDG BizCast. It's great to have you. Please tell us about yourself and your background as a business owner and how you got into coaching.
Well, first, Christian, thank you so much for having me here. I do want to say congratulations on having a great podcast. I look forward to chatting with you today, as well as giving great insight to businesses that are going to be listening. So yes, I started in business a long time ago. I was 14 years old selling greeting cards door to door. And that is where I actually learned, well, I guess, how to sell. Literally going door to door, trying to get people to give me money, and I give them greeting cards. So that's where it started. Over the years, I learned that my parents were very entrepreneurial. Actually, mom had a maid service business. My dad had a painting business. Both very entrepreneurial, and yet both not so good. We got kicked out of our homes 9 out of 12 years. My parents weren't very good at owning a business. They were very passionate, but yet something that I learned is how to be successful in business. So I've been really focused on learning what does it take to be a successful business owner. So my first successful business, I'll say, was an IT company. I started off as just a one-man show, did pretty good, and eventually my customers kept asking for more from me. I started to hire some people and actually grew it to a pretty good sized company. We did just under $30 million in revenue, and the most important part is not the top line, but the bottom line, and we got it to grow to right at $250,000 of profit a month. At that same time, the business completely ran without me. Eventually sold that company, built another company, a software company, and sold that software company as well. Then retired at 42 years old. Discovered I was kind of bored. Played golf a lot. And the day that I played 3 rounds of golf in one day, maybe some of your listeners have done that as well. The 3 rounds of golf in a day was the day I said, I am no longer retired. And got back into business. I ran into this company called ActionCoach, and they're the ones that said, hey, you should teach business owners how to do what you've done. Eventually, I agreed, invested in the company, and now 14 years later, I've become and ranked the #1 in the world. Even just most recently, we went to our conference in Phuket, Thailand, and we were again ranked the #1 business coaching firm in the world, which is kind of cool. It really is about the results we get with our clients is why we get ranked so high and so often.
That is a very incredible story. I love hearing about entrepreneurial families. There are a lot of people who were born to be entrepreneurs, but they don't realize it until later when they decide the time to start a business is now. I know that I would like to see more people in my family become business owners over the years too. I don't have any children right now, but should I ever, I would like to train them to become business owners. And right now, me being a business owner myself, it's an honor to be talking to someone who knows the game so well right now. And all of our listeners are going to value greatly what you're about to share with us today. I know today that you want to talk to us about how to work on your business rather than in your business. And based on what we've talked about previously, you have told me all about how marketing is math. Could you please explain a little bit more to our audience what that means?
Of course, yeah. So one of the most interesting things in this business, unlike my last business, I have learned what marketing is. And my last business, I said already, we grew it really well, made lots of profits, but there's some downsides. We opened up an office in Dallas, opened up an office in Charlotte. Both those offices failed miserably. Cost me about $500,000. I closed them down. I didn't know why. Get into ActionCoach and I start realizing I didn't know marketing. We were good at sales. People wanted us. We did a lot of work with big companies. And yet the big companies just kept buying from us. We weren't marketing to them. They just kept buying. It was a very interesting difference. So get into ActionCoach and start learning that marketing really is just math. A lot of people think marketing, it might be mysterious or that it's a gamble or even that it doesn't work. I would actually say that all marketing works if you work it right. Print advertising, I know even the yellow pages, taxi backs, billboards, they all work. You just got to understand that marketing is an investment. You might not get a very good return on your investment, yet you might get a great return on your investment. People don't do the actual math to determine if it was good or bad. Here's a real good example. A lot of people network in the small business world, and at BNI, you might pay $1,000 a year, including all the different fees and things. And if you, at the end of the year, you calculated what your profits were on being a member of BNI, you probably will have a pretty good return on investment. Doesn't matter if you sell donuts or shoes or electricity or coaching or marketing or you're a painter. If you calculate the math on your investment in networking and you see what was the return, you're very likely to have a good return on that investment. Same thing with pay-per-click advertising. Google can be amazing to take your money, and you may be really sad that Google took all your money. But if you do the math and you had a good marketing company that could help you understand the math, you might see that you got 5 times your money or 10 times your money. I've got clients that are passing 15, 20 times their investment in pay-per-click advertising because they're doing the math. So marketing is just math. I like to say people need to understand they're buying customers. Buying customers is buying leads and then buying a customer. Here's a really quick homework for your listeners. Take the last rolling 12 months of marketing dollars out. So look at everything, business cards, website, maybe you joined a networking group. Everything you can think of that was dollars out, sum that up for the past 12 months. Then divide it by the number of leads, maybe the number of proposals, maybe it's the number of conversations. You got to calculate what the lead is for you, divide that out, and see the number. That's now your cost to acquire a lead. Do the same thing for the number of customers. You will now know the cost to get a customer and the cost to get a lead. These dollars can be used to determine how quickly you can grow your company. One of our great clients, a veterinarian clinic, did the math, and it was about $35 to get a customer. Now, I don't know about you, Christian, but I have some dogs. I take them to the vet. It costs a lot more than $35 for them to go any single time, even just their shots, right? So they now know that every dollar out makes them money. It's even the first visit. So it's really interesting if you could calculate that and end up with the same sort of scenario where all of your money that you put out comes back in the very first customer visit. That's what we call an unlimited or an infinite marketing budget. Great place to be. Some it takes 2 or 3 customers or 2 or 3 visits by the same customer to get your investment back. But understanding marketing is only math, one of the most amazing things I've learned, and we constantly teach.
I agree 100%. Many startups fail within their first year of opening simply because they don't know what marketing is. And I talk to a lot of my clients about this all the time too when they're getting their website done and things like that. You know, we're working on their website design, their logo design, or their marketing collateral. A lot of people I've realized they may be really good at what they do. They don't know the business side of things. So maybe you are good at baking cakes, for example, and you want to start a bakery. You know how to bake a cake. You know how to put all the ingredients together, get it in the oven. But do you understand the business side of that? Marketing is a big part of that. And with that being said, it's important to remember all business owners, before they even implement a strategy, they should set some goals first. And you've given a really good example alone with marketing and looking at marketing dollars. Please tell me more about why it's important to set goals before implementing a strategy.
Yeah, that's a great point there, Christian, because a lot of people do this idea. or get an idea from their uncle or their mother or their grandparent or even a networking buddy. Hey, why don't you try XYZ? That's called a strategy. Some, of course, don't even have strategies, but let's just say that you have a strategy. If you didn't have a goal that was predefined, then the strategy could be totally wasted. Let's say that, hey, I want to use your company for pay-per-click advertising, and I don't have a goal. I just have some money. I throw the money out there, it might work, it might not work, and I don't even know if it ever achieved a goal. And so instead I'd say, hey, I want to increase my revenues by $100,000 a month. And then you and other marketing companies would go, oh, that's a fantastic goal. And then we work backwards as to strategies and investments required to achieve that particular goal. This prevents the shiny object syndrome problem, the SOS, and really want to have people, and I do this all the time with my clients because they will come up with a great idea. Even a client just this week said, hey, I want to start including this product because this product ties in with every one of my customers. I said, I love the idea, but what's the goal? And so we worked backwards and we determined that maybe one of those goals he did set, because we set quarterly goals, that would work. And that was to increase revenue by a certain percentage. Now the strategy can tie into that, but that's not the way he was thinking. So I do want people to think, hey, this is my goal for the quarter or for the year, and this is now my 6, 8, 10 strategies to achieve it. Then you can focus on the strategy and be successful.
Shiny object syndrome can be very dangerous, especially when you're starting a business for the first time. The business owner, they have this vision in their mind that their idea, it just looks so nice on paper or in their mind, but it's all for nothing if they don't come up with some sort of strategy. And of course, marketing is part of the strategy too. You cannot put a new product or service out there or start a business in general until you do the homework and think about how you're going to get the product out there. You think about your marketing strategy, your promotional strategy. I feel that a lot of people, when they hear the word marketing, they don't truly know what it means. And we all know about the 4 P's of marketing: product, price, promotion, and place. People don't know these things. They just assume that marketing means, oh, I'm telling this person, I'm telling that person, I'm handing out flyers. There's a lot more than that when it comes to marketing. And that is something that everyone who is starting a business needs to think about. And
marketing is such an interesting thing. In some of my book, Business Blind Spots, which I did put out during COVID, I had a little extra time, so I got my book finished. 30 years in the making, but it did come out during 2021. Chapter 3 is titled The Secret. Chapter 3 is entirely about marketing. And something that I encourage people, if you think about the largest restaurants in the world, the largest happens to be Subway, the sub shop, and then there's McDonald's. And we don't think, hey, let's go on a date and go to McDonald's. Maybe unless you're 14. But right, so but why are they the biggest? Because they understand marketing. Not because it's the best restaurant, because they're best at marketing. So I really encourage people to understand it, learn it. There's lots of books out there. There's lots of people out there that can help. If they don't understand marketing, they will never hit their goals.
that's correct. Your small business or your idea, it can be one of those brands, but you've really got to implement some sort of a marketing strategy. First, you can't just roll the idea out there. Too many people think their great idea is so grand, in their mind, they're thinking about it. They think it's so grand that it's just going to take off the moment they get it out to the public. No, starting a business takes a lot of work. You can't just roll something out there. If you have stellar marketing, people will remember you. It's important to have a good brand identity, memorable logo, catchy slogans. A lot of people rely on TV advertising, on radio advertising, social media advertising, but all of those things are moot unless there is something truly grand about what you're pushing out there. And that's the next thing I wanted to talk to you about, was the importance of uniqueness in your brand, in your company, or suffering from low margin. Please tell me more about that.
Yeah, so we've run into a lot of companies, and they're really, I'll use networking again, and this is one of the questions I will always ask people in networking is, so what makes you special? What makes you unique? Why would I want to do business with you, insurance guy, versus that insurance gal? Why you? And so often business owners will say, well, because we provide the best service. And I agree that the best service is important. It doesn't make them unique, because the competition can also claim to be the best in the service. So if somebody else can claim it, then you can't use that as unique. So my uniqueness is that, yes, I've actually built companies. I've sold companies. Been in the business for 30 some years now. I've lived it. I actually have not just experience, not just the skill set, but wisdom from it. So when you chat with business coaches, understanding if the uniqueness is, hey, you've built a company, you sold a company, I should chat with you. Okay, that's a great uniqueness. There's not a lot of business coaches out there that have that uniqueness. Another one of our uniquenesses is that we have 30 years experience. We have 1,100 offices, and we are now in 84 countries. No other organization has that kind of breadth. So when I actually chose ActionCoach, I considered what would my clients want? And could I help them open an office in, let's just say, San Antonio, or an office in New York City, or an office in Mexico City, or an office in Barcelona? So if I could leverage the brand that has all these offices all over the country and then all over the world, that is another uniqueness to which my clients will pay. And they'll pay a little bit more than the competition because of the uniqueness. There are business coaches out there that don't have a uniqueness that might say, hey, I charge $100 an hour for my work. And good, more power to them, but they're not unique. Instead, they're trying to come up with the lowest price. So we want to be sure we're getting clients not to sell on price, sell on value. Make sure that you're going to get the right value for the money. Again, there's a value menu at McDonald's, right?
Right.
Well, we could all be happy with I don't even know if it's 99 cents or not anymore. I know it used to be. Maybe it's more now, but
it is.
Is it? Okay. But that's, a value menu, but it's a little bit of bread and a very small amount of meat or something, and you pay more than $1 apparently now, right? But that's the value that they're offering for that, right? I'm a member in the Marshall Goldsmith 100 group. Marshall Goldsmith is an executive coach, and he coaches Pfizer and Walmart and Microsoft and the World Bank. And, well, his fee is $250,000 a year and up. Well, guess what he's got? He's got 30 plus years, actually 40 plus years now of coaching monster CEOs. So monster CEOs are like, I'm happy to pay that because he has the experience coaching monster CEOs. Right? So the reality is we want to be sure whatever the uniqueness is, how do you express that? And then maybe even consider what might be your guarantee.
And we're going to talk about guarantees in just a minute. The one point that I certainly want to stress is that too many small business owners out there are too focused on being a price leader in their industry. And that's not always a good strategy. And like you said, it should not be focused on price all the time. Show what value you're offering in your products or services. If you're only focused on being the lowest price out there, it's not always going to work out the best for you. What can you offer? What if your competitor decides to undercut you and then a big pricing war starts and they're somehow able to add more for less? I know that sounds a bit unrealistic, but it could happen. So it's important to show your customers, what are you offering? Why are you unique? What is your unique selling point when you're trying to sell to the public? Why should they choose your business over the guy next door? And going back to what you said about McDonald's and their value menu, I would say think about the McDonald's value menu from about 10 years ago when you could get a McDouble for $1, a hot and spicy chicken sandwich for $1, and then they had a few other items that I can't recall because it was a long time ago. But apply that concept to your business. What value services can you offer that maybe they don't have as much as the more higher end services you offer, the more higher price services, but you're going to get a customer occasionally who is looking to spend a certain amount. Maybe your services aren't in their price bracket, but you might be able to offer something that's a little bit less than what you offer on your main menu, but could still get the job done. How do you feel about businesses who offer a value menu of services?
I like to say, understand your customer, right? So you can absolutely be the Walmart. If you really want to be the low price leader, obviously Walmart is really, it's not the largest company in the world anymore, but it has been. So you can do it. It's just a different model, and you have to understand the margins, the profit margins, and that is, of course, the leftover from what you charge from the cost. Profit margins at Walmart are very low, but they have crazy volume. So if you're okay with low profit and high volume, I would coach you through that. Absolutely. That is a fantastic strategy. It just has to be part of the goal setting. Understand what are the goals, what do you want to achieve, what are the strategies, and price is a strategy. Different menu items can be, of course, a strategy. I don't know the most expensive thing at McDonald's. Maybe it's $8, $7, right? And the lowest price might be, I don't know, $1.50 now. Sure. Right. So, and they just say, hey, that's their customer base. This is the menu for that customer. They're not going for the $35, $50 steak dinner. That's just not their market. Really understanding what is your target customer, what will they want to afford, what is it they're buying? Because there are places out there, of course, that they have the $50, $100 steak meal. Right? And you have the lower price ones that maybe is modified steak. I don't know. But it's just not the same, not the same experience. Different customer base, different target market, different goals, different strategy.
Correct. And that's especially important to know if any business owners out there are considering opening some sort of retail store. You've got to understand your cost of goods sold. How much does it cost to buy wholesale? How much can you mark each individual unit up so that you make a profit, so that you make a return on investment from purchasing wholesale? That's something that a lot of people talk to me about as well too. And what would you say the best strategy would be to ensure that when you purchase your wholesale products that you're going to be marking up for retail? What is the number one thing you should look for to ensure that you make a good profit off of each unit sold?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question, Christian. I have a client that's just now opening up a new spa, and we were chatting with one of the manufacturers or one of the potential vendors, and they were offering it at 35%, so you get to earn 35% on every sale. And I was like, well, I'm going to coach my client into saying no to your product. And they're like, why? I said, well, if you don't get about 50% margin, meaning you pay $1 and you get to charge $2, or you pay, maybe $10, but you get to charge $19.50, right? That's about a 50% gross profit margin. The reason I want my clients to have at least a 50% gross profit margin, because you sell something for, I'll use $100, and if $50 goes to the cost of delivering that product or service, that leaves you with $50. Well, the leftover is going to pay for marketing. Remember the cost to acquire a customer, right? That went into some of that cost. You should have some overhead. You should have some employees. You should have some insurance. Of course, you're paying for a business coach. You're paying your marketing companies, right? You have these things that cause the business to grow. And I count that as about another 25%, which would leave you 25% on every one of the dollars you sold to be your back pocket money, your profit. So if you stick to the general rule of 50% could go to the product or service cost, another 25% is your overhead, that can leave you at 25%, and that's pretty good bottom line profit on a business. You start giving away more margin, meaning paying more. Let's say you end up paying 65% for your stuff, and another 25% going to overhead, right? Now you're up to 90%. My math is right, 65 and 25. Yep, that's 90%, leaving you 10%. That might be not enough to actually live on, right? Unless, of course, you're a monster company, which we aren't right now, right? So it's really interesting what happens when people start to learn margins and maybe have to raise their prices because they just don't make enough money, which means they have to get better at the marketing, getting better at uniqueness, coming up with a great guarantee. But the numbers is where it all boils down to numbers.
The one dilemma that I've had some of my own clients talk to me about in the past is that if they raise their price too high, then nobody will buy the products because they'll view it as expensive. They'll tell them they can go somewhere else and get it cheaper. But when you're a small business, sometimes you have no choice but to sell at such a high margin based on what you just said here. Unless you're a monster company like Walmart, you can't really afford to sell on a low profit margin. You've got to mark it up to where you're getting a good return on investment after purchasing wholesale, but still leaving you with some profit left over. Of course, going towards business operations such as marketing and other business related costs. And then after you spend that, goes to yourself personally for personal use. Many business owners I've talked to have this dilemma, and a lot of them don't really know how to deal with it other than just to raise their price.
It's not just raising the price, but understanding the reason, the value. And so I just did a half-day workshop on value and sales, and helping my clients understand the value is the most important thing they must understand. If they don't understand the value, it's very difficult to charge the right fee. Here's a really good example. I don't know about you, but there's still today the opportunity to go out and get the lowest price LASIK surgery. You can buy the lowest price company to cut your eyes and help you see better. Or there are the ones that say, hey, we've been doing it for 30 years. We have 10,000 times we've done this, and it always works. It's always good, and we guarantee the results, and you can come back for 5 years for repeat treatments. And oh, by the way, yes, it's 10 times the price. Now, we're talking about your eyes. The guys that charge more get more business, right? And that's where I want to go. I think that's where you want to go, right? People want to go there. Think of buying tires. You got a car, you got a vehicle, and you have kids. Let's go buy the retreads that are cheaper, and, well, they may explode. Go 70 miles an hour on the freeway. They probably won't, but they might, right? And so we don't want that. So people understand the value is okay. People pay more. They're comfortable paying more. Not everybody shops at Walmart.
That's true. Some people will purchase certain product at a certain price, and maybe they're not the most highest of quality, but they'll do it just because it gets the job done. And I see this a lot with computers too. A lot of people will use an extremely outdated computer, even running something as old as Windows 2000 or XP, believe it or not. I know, ancient. But when you ask them why they are still using that computer, even though it's a security risk, it has a potential to get hacked and hijacked due to it being so old and not patched or secure without any updates from Microsoft, their answer is it gets the job done. It may get the job done, but it's all fun and games until your machine gets hacked and all your personal information gets stolen. So it's not always good to go with the cheaper route or just go with certain products because they get the job done. You have to look into what you're spending your money on and whether or not it gets the job done, and you also got your money's worth. Just getting the job done isn't enough. What's the value in what you purchase? And all this discussion about profit leads me into my next question for you. What are the 5 places that profit come from?
Yes, so it's interesting. People think profit just comes from the sale. So we teach basically the 5 ways, and I'll be actually speaking about this at the Small Business Expo here in a couple weeks. And we call it the 5 ways to increase profit. So here are the 5, right? So first, we already chatted about it, marketing, getting leads in the door. Well, leads actually don't make you money, right? But the conversion of them, the percentage of those that become leads that actually buy from you, we call it the conversion rate. So increasing profits can come from increasing your lead, and it can also come from increasing your conversion rate. So I mentioned already about USP, unique selling proposition, and mentioned a little bit about guarantee, right? So by having a good USP and a guarantee, you can increase your conversion rate. By having really good lead generation strategies, networking, pay-per-click advertising, maybe print advertising, lots of ways to understand marketing, get the professionals, get people to help you. You'll increase your leads, that'll increase your profit. You increase your conversion rate, that increase your profit. Those are 2 things. Another one is getting the existing customers to buy again. So we call that number of transactions. You can do marketing to get your past customers to buy again. So that's the 3rd area. The 4th area is the average amount they spend with you each time they buy. Back to the McDonald's example, Whataburger example, we don't see the individual items on the menu anymore. We only see combinations, combos, right? So I'll take combo 1 or combo A or whatever they're named, right? And that has increased the average dollar sale from a $2 something to literally $7 and something by bundling things. You can still buy the one-off. It's just not on the menu. It has raised the average. So that's the 4th area, is increasing the average dollar sale. And the 5th area is understanding margins. And here's a really interesting example. I don't even know if you know, Christian, but most people don't. You go to a restaurant and there's pasta on the menu and there's steak on the menu. Do you know which one has the highest profit margin?
I would say the steak.
Well, most people say the steak because it's the highest price.
Right.
But actually, it's the pasta. Pasta has the highest margin. Now, if by chance you're trying to work on the 5th area, which is increased margins, you might teach how to sell more pasta to your wait staff instead of selling more steaks. Steaks have a higher price. Of course, they're higher cost of goods sold. They actually have a lower profit margin than pasta. So there's a dozen, or actually dozens. We have about 55, 60 strategies we teach just in margins to increase margins. We have about 385 total strategies across all of these 5 areas, whether it's generating leads, number 1, increasing conversion rate, number 2, increasing average dollar sale, number 3, increasing the number of transactions, number 4, and increasing the margins, number 5. So 5 different places that you can increase your profits, and all of those you can do good marketing inside of to help.
Because marketing is something that no business owner will ever be able to escape from. Nearly every area in business involves marketing to a certain degree, and you just hit the nail on the head right there. All 5 of those areas all have marketing as the common denominator. Pricing is one of the P's of the 4 P's of marketing. It is a big segment of marketing. And going back to what you're saying about the steak and the pasta, I totally understand now why pasta has a higher profit margin, because it doesn't cost as much to obtain pasta versus obtaining steak, because beef or meats in general are a major expense for restaurants, and it's one of the most expensive things that they could import in when they buy their meats wholesale. Margin is very, very important to understand as a business owner. If you don't understand your profit margin, you're never going to truly understand how much money you're going to make later. You might realize that you're losing money because you weren't selling your product at a decent price. When you look back on the numbers, you'll see that you are selling the product for less than what it costs to actually obtain the products and buy them from a wholesaler, from a vendor. To me, in my mind, that's unintentional dumping, because you and me both know what dumping means. And for those who don't know what it means selling a product for less than what it costs to manufacture it. And sometimes business owners unintentionally engage in dumping when they don't realize it, and they're only hurting their own bottom line. Now, it's also important to remember for business owners, if they really want to see an increase in sales, they need to offer a guarantee to their customer. They have to guarantee them a certain result or a certain product. Please tell me more about the importance of guarantees and how they can help sales for businesses small or large.
Sure, Christian. I guess some things that we've all experienced is a guarantee. A long time ago, there was the 30 minutes or free. Domino's guaranteed that you could get your pizza 30 minutes or free. And then there was even longer ago when it absolutely positively has to be there overnight. That was the FedEx guarantee. So these guarantees were so big, created monster companies, also created entire industries. So when you think of a guarantee, sometimes people already guarantee it, they just don't advertise it. We'll go back to the restaurant example. Most of the places in America, if you don't like the food, they take the food off the bill. But they don't actually say, well, if you don't love it, we'll take it off the bill. But they could. They already have the guarantee. Right? But also think of the things that happen that could increase your conversion rate, increase the sales because you offered a guarantee. How about the plumbers of the world, right? So plumbers tend to get a bad rap because too often they're late. Too often they don't necessarily provide a great service, and not necessarily all the time, but sometimes it doesn't necessarily work. So what if there was a guarantee that said, hey, if we're not there on time, we don't charge you a service call. So now that would increase my confidence they're going to be at least on time. I'll probably pick that one over the one that doesn't have the on-time guarantee, because without the on-time guarantee, I know they're going to be late. One of our clients, back to the vet clinic, right? This is what they guaranteed, because there was a lot of people frustrated over how long they have to wait when they go, and they even have an appointment. I have a 2 o'clock appointment. I get there 5 minutes to 2, and the vet sees me at 2:20, right? Well, this particular vet clinic says we guarantee to see you within 3 minutes of your appointment, or your appointment is free. Their sales skyrocketed because of that one thing. So we help people. We actually have a handout called the USP Guarantee Questionnaire. By chance, if any of your listeners would like to have that, they can go to my website, businessasatool.com. There's a link there. They can click on business tips and they can fill out a little form and can get this USP Guarantee Questionnaire complimentary. Love to help people have a great USP as well as a guarantee. But the questionnaire that is asks things like, what is the biggest frustration in the business, in the industry? Why do people get frustrated? Maybe you could create a guarantee, create a uniqueness based on the frustration. Just like the plumbers, just like the vet clinics, or even we at ActionCoach guarantee results. So we have my uniqueness, been doing a long time, really good at what we do, as well as guarantee results. Right? So if we don't find your investment in coaching at least one time in 17 weeks, we coach you for free. Now, I don't even bring on clients anymore unless I can get them 3 times their investment in coaching. And so we can do that usually within 30 days, definitely within 90 days. And we know it works. We know it always works. Our job is to help people get to doing the right things in the right order. But a USP, a guarantee, absolutely critical in every industry. We just have to help people come up with what would be their uniqueness, what would be their guarantee. Don't have to have it today, but certainly can create one by filling out the questionnaire.
And many USPs can be based on the guarantee alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For sure.
It's one thing to show how your company is different from the rest. It's also important to have something that you can promise to your customer. These guarantees and what they promise, that can lead to an increase in sales simply because of the attractiveness of the offer, you could say. Going back to the first example you gave with Domino's. In fact, I don't know if this is true or not, but I read somewhere that the reason why Domino's had to get rid of the 30 minutes or less guarantee was because too many of their delivery drivers were getting into accidents trying to deliver the pizza, because they were really trying to get that pizza on time to the customer's doorstep. And I don't know if that's true or not, but that's proof right there that they took this very seriously and were committed to honoring their guarantee to the highest degree. And I guess it just got too dangerous for them to continue honoring it.
I think they also understand what's the next most important thing. They built a big business on the 30-minute guarantee, right? So think of this. Why come up with a 30-minute guarantee? Well, people frustrated about pizzas getting there late and cold.
Mm-hmm.
So the 30-minute guarantee resolved that problem, getting there late and getting there cold. Because if it gets there in 30 minutes, it's still going to be hot and it's going to be on time.
Correct.
Now, maybe, just maybe, because I wasn't around in the boardrooms of Domino's when they change it. Now they have the quality guarantee. You will love the pizza or we'll give your money back, right? So they could say, all right, before we weren't focused on quality, we're focused on time and temperature. Now, they've got that down pretty well. Let's focus on quality. Could be the reason that they also switched.
Possibly. I've heard people say that ever since they switched their recipe to the one they're using now, they changed it back in 2009, the pizza has increased in quality, in flavor. More people seem to enjoy this recipe versus the old one from before 2009. So I can definitely see why they switched. And even though they had to scrap their original guarantee, they were able to substitute in one that made up for it, one that still brings in high profit. And that, of course, that also benefits a lot of small business owners too, because a lot of Domino's locations are franchises, and a lot of franchises are small businesses, small family-owned businesses, mom and pops, bearing a corporate name. So the importance of guarantees, if you don't have one, you need to start thinking of one right now. That would be what I would tell all the small business owners who are listening, who are looking into starting a business. Maybe they're already thinking right now that they want to get into business by, let's say, January as a New Year's resolution. And a lot of people do that. I know I was one of those people who did that when I started this company. A lot of the stuff that we've talked about. So just to recap, it's important to remember your numbers when it comes to marketing. Look at how much you're spending and evaluate closely. See what types of results it's bringing in. Always make sure that before you even start a strategy, make sure you already have your goals in place. So if you're thinking of starting a business, wouldn't you say the right time to start writing out your goals and planning your strategy subsequently would be right now?
Of course, for sure. And I would say don't worry about the timing. Just work on goals first, strategy second. Be sure you have a uniqueness. Make sure you have a guarantee. Build these things. You could have a business that's 20 years old and don't have these things. I'm in a company that's 150 years old. They're in Argentina, and they are a monster company with 80,000 employees. Went through some of these things. They're like, we don't do that either. We don't do that either. Right? So it's not that all required. It just allows you to have a better business.
Correct.
I like to say that you mentioned a little bit about a recipe, right? So we teach the recipe for a better business.
Right.
And this is what it boils down to. A lot of the things that we mentioned today, I didn't do in my last business. Still got to just under 30 million. Still had $250,000 in profit, but also failed at 2 other locations. Also sold it before I learned these things. So what if I kept it and learned these things? Could be a totally different house sale.
Correct.
Totally different jet. I don't know. Different things that could happen if I'd learned these things before.
Right. It could have been a completely different story for both of them. And then, of course, we also have to remember that being unique is key. Let's say that you've already established what makes your business unique. It was still in the startup stage, and a lot of people don't realize that they need to be unique up front. They just have shiny object syndrome, and they're just going to throw it out there. It's an honest mistake. And anybody who makes that mistake shouldn't feel bad. They just need to reevaluate and take a step back and look at the bigger picture.
I like to say that it's not what we know that gets us in trouble. It's what we don't know that gets us in trouble.
Correct.
I didn't know about marketing. Cost me $500,000 in those other locations. Not what I knew that got me in trouble. It's what I didn't know that got me in trouble.
Right.
Which is why I wrote the book Business Blind Spots, because it's the blind spots that gets us in trouble.
Correct. And that goes back to what I said earlier, how many startups fail because people don't understand the business side of things. So they know their skill, their talent, and they want to turn it into a business, but they don't know business itself. They don't know what it takes to start a business, to run a business. Like I said earlier, bakery, you're excellent at making cake, but you don't know the business side of things, operations, management, marketing. And some people will put themselves in school to learn business before they even decide to run a business, regardless of what it is. Those are the people who truly want to know how to operate a business so that they don't fail their first year. It's great if you have a specific talent that you want to monetize, but before you monetize it, you have to learn the ropes of running a business and managing a business. Understand what strategy is, what it means to set goals, what marketing is. That's a big one. Marketing is the monster in the room that you can't get rid of. It's always going to drive your business. It's also important to remember the 5 places you mentioned where profits come from. And if you could please list these 5 places again in one sentence for listeners so they could write these down.
Sure. Here we go. Lead generation, number 1. Conversion rate, which is the sales process, number 2. Average dollar sale, number 3. Number of times the customer buys from you is number 4. And profit margins is number 5.
Right. Those are the 5 points I want all our listeners to write down, because this is what you need to keep in mind. Commit it to memory and learn these 5 places. This is where your money's coming from. This is what's going to keep your company afloat. This is what's going to keep your customers engaged once you understand where these profits are coming from. Commit all 5 to memory. And remember that if you want to see sales increase, make sure you have a really strong, rock-solid guarantee people just can't say no to. If your guarantee ties in directly with your unique selling proposition, that's good too. You have something that people just can't say no to. It looks attractive to the eye. At this point, shiny object syndrome is okay in the eyes of the customers once they know what they're getting. Would you agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, well, I think it's a matter of understanding all of the pieces, and you can be successful without all the pieces, but you'll be more successful when you learn more of all the pieces.
Correct.
Right? So we don't want anybody to ever stop learning, always learn, and of course you can just keep growing.
Correct. Just because you graduate from school does not mean you're done learning. In fact, once you leave school, the real learning begins. At least from my personal experience, that's how I felt. You can sit in class, take notes on lectures and things like that, but when you're in the field, whether you're working for somebody else or you're running your own business, that's when you're truly going to learn the ropes of your career. And it's important to learn the ropes ahead of time if you already have plans to start a business. Don't just jump in. Don't just jump in like nothing. You've got to learn the business side of everything. How do you run a business? What does it take to run a business? This is where you have to put your talents, what you want to monetize, aside for now, and instead evaluate how you're going to manage a business from day to day and how you're going to grow it to the point to where you eventually no longer have to wear the hats. You're no longer an octopus with a bunch of different arms and different unrelated areas of business, where you come to the point where you can throw that away and you can start hiring people because your business is profitable enough for you to hire people. That should be your end game. You have to involve yourself less in the business. It basically needs to be able to run itself in the end, and you can transfer it to somebody else. Maybe you want to pass it on to a family member or sell it. Your exit strategy will be a clear one without any roadblocks. Once again, thank you, Doug, for joining me on the show. Do you have any final remarks that you would like to make before we close out?
Understand that the biggest thing is that it is a recipe. Follow a recipe. Find the recipes. Just stick to the recipe. If you try to bake a cake without a recipe, you're probably not going to be good at it until you've done it a bunch of times. So if this is your first business and you don't have a recipe, your second business and you never followed a recipe. In my 9th business, I started using recipe. People say, how did you get to be the #1 business coach in the world? I say, I followed what we teach, and that's the recipe of a great success. You can go to our website, businessasatool.com, download some business tips. There's always things there. We're doing lots of free training all the time here in the Houston area, lots of different events. I love to help business owners. All the events are free, so come on by, download some stuff, learn, and then we must act on the learnings. All the things that people learn, very few people actually act on the new knowledge. Get out there and act, and love to hear about your success.
And you've heard it from the master himself. Follow his advice and go out there and build your businesses up. Start making some money. Start growing your brands into these monster companies, and you're going to be just fine. You're going to be very successful. Thank you, Doug, for joining me on the show. It was a pleasure.
Yes, thank you, Christian. Really enjoyed it.